All right, we're about 5 after, so we'll get started. I figured we would continue the conversation off last night's Sunday call. So Christy was talking about all the different ways that we can make changes in our body, no matter what our goal is. If your goal is to lose weight, if your goal is to build muscle, if your goal is to just live a healthier lifestyle, everything that she said last night applies to all three of those. And obviously movement being one of our like core values in Fitme, moving our body every single day. We're going to talk about how to challenge your body in your movement, no matter where you are at in your movement or strength training. So Christy said last night to challenge our bodies, which basically means that we have to continue to make things a bit more difficult for our bodies in order for them to progress. So let's use movement as an example. Let's say you're walking. And this is something that I've had to do here lately too. So I'll use myself as an example. So one of the things I'm trying to do, I'm in an active weight loss season. So I am actually trying to drop a little bit of body fat. So one of the things that I'm doing by challenging my body is moving my body more. I have no problem getting in my workouts, but my steps are always my low hanging fruit. So one of the things that I did, I kind of like looked over the past couple months, and my steps honestly haven't been as great as I would like. They're probably sitting between that 8 to probably like 8,500. Normally I try to get like 10K, and honestly through the holidays, they just kind of fell a little bit later. So one of the things that I'm doing to continue to challenge my movement is actually getting 10,000 steps a day versus just saying, oh, my 9 to 10, because I was never hitting my 9. I actually said I'm going to get 10,000 steps. So that's about anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000 more steps than I was getting. So that's one of the ways that I'm challenging my body to be able to help me in this weight loss season that I'm currently in. It's definitely a challenge. I'm having to actively go out and plan out walks more than what I was doing before. So it is something that is challenging me, taking up more time. I'm having to plan it out a little bit more. So if movement is something that maybe you struggle with and you're in a weight loss season, whatever season you're in, one of the ways that you can challenge yourself is by increasing or adding more of what you're doing. So if you're walking 10,000 steps, you can up your steps. So that's one way, changing the duration of what you're doing. So maybe going longer. If you're a runner, which I know some ladies in Fitme are runners, so maybe are you challenging it by going for a longer run? So basically increasing the distance. So another way that you can challenge your movement is the intensity at which you are doing the movement. So if you are walking, let's say, or you do CrossFit or you do strength training, you can increase the intensity. One way that you could do that, if you're going on a walk, increase your intensity, you could, one, pick up the speed. So you could walk faster. You could jog instead of walk by increasing high harmony, increasing the intensity. It looked like she said hi back. Increasing the intensity. You could add in a backpack where you're adding weight to the walk. That's, you're just physically carrying more weight. That's going to make the walk more intense. You can also add in a couple strength training things into your walk to increase the intensity. So maybe every 2 minutes you do 10 squats, 10 push-ups, and 10 jumping jacks. So that's going to increase the intensity of your walk. If you are strength training or doing CrossFit, one of the ways that you can increase the intensity there is by increasing the weight. So if you're doing squats and you're putting, I don't know, let's just say you're putting 25 pounds on each side of the barbell, or you're holding 25-pound dumbbells, you can slowly increase the weight that you're using to make the exercise more intense. One of the things, if you are strength training or doing CrossFit, I do highly recommend you actually physically write down what you're doing, or track it in your Fitme app if you have a strength training program from one of the coaches, is actually track where you're at, because I will tell you, there's no way in heck I can remember what weight I was lifting last week. There's no way I would know unless I'm writing it down. So you might not increase each and every week, but at least if you can start to see, okay, I've been at these 25-pound dumbbells for a couple weeks now. Let's see if I can get to 30, see how I do, and challenge my body that way. If you are strength training, CrossFit, whatever, using any type of dumbbells, you can actually slow down your movement and make it more challenging that way. So let's say you are doing shoulder presses. If you press up and slower on the way down, that makes that exercise so much more intense than if you're going like this. Julie, were you going to pop in?
Oh, I didn't mean to unmute myself. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get the baby some applesauce. She just woke up from a nap. So
all good.
Yeah, applesauce. Yeah, I've been working on strength training, and I'm only doing one set of each exercise right now because I don't want to be overly sore. And actually, I just took a week off because my grandmother's funeral and all of that stuff last week. And I just finally feel like I have energy today. So I just got back from a 45-minute walk. And so, yeah, I'm working on all that stuff right now.
Hey, and getting back into the swing of things, especially coming off of a vacation. Or if you are traveling, you're gone for a few days, if you are sick, it's always good to start on the lower end of things. Christy always, I think she says, it's like live to train another day, live to walk another day, live to work out for another day. You don't want to be so ungodly sore that you can't sit on the toilet. And I've been there, and it's not fun. For like a week, you can't lift your butt off the toilet because it hurts so bad. So definitely paying attention to the intensity as to whatever type of movement you are doing, exercise you are doing, keep track of it. Because that's how you're going to be able to actually start to change and continue to challenge your body. Like, I always think of the example where you see the people in the gym or whatever you're doing, and they're lifting the same weights, and they've been lifting the same weights for years and years and years on end, and they're not making much progress, not seeing a lot of change in their body. And that's because our bodies are super adaptive. So if you're telling it to lift this 5 pounds or 10 pounds, eventually that's going to get easy. And your body's just it won't change if we're not challenging it. So you want to be able to, one, know the ways to be able to challenge your body, but two, actually track it so you know, are you actually changing things up? And let's say you don't have dumbbells, or you don't have different size cables or anything like that in the workouts that you're doing. One of the things you can do, like we talked about, slowing down your movement, whether it's when you're pushing in the movement, you're going a little bit slower, coming a little bit slower on the way down. That's a way to increase the intensity of what you're doing. Adding reps in. Julie, for you, maybe it's adding in an extra set eventually. Once you feel good doing one set of the movement, you can add in another set to be able to challenge yourself even more. So does anybody have any questions about that? Any thoughts, concerns? Does it make sense?
It does make sense, but so you're walking 10,000 steps, you're doing whatever your weight training you're doing to challenge, because it's not like I don't want to be lifting 100 pounds. That's not my goal.
Mm-hmm.
So I would probably have to, 25 pounds is good for me. Like 20 pound dumbbells eventually. So just switch it up to like trick your mind, trick your body. Just do different things.
So
did I
guess You were cutting it in and out a little bit. So it all comes back to whatever
Oh.
your goal is. Can you hear me? Or did I freeze?
Yeah.
Oh, Julie says, no, I didn't freeze.
Um,
Her face is making me laugh.
no, it's probably me freezing.
A little bit, yeah. So it all comes back to whatever your goal is. If your goal is to get stronger, then whatever you're doing, if you're walking and you want to challenge your body, maybe it's putting a couple dumbbells in your backpack and walking those 10,000 steps, but putting that weight on. That's going to make that walk harder. If your goal is to get stronger and work your way up to 20-pound dumbbells, then with whatever exercises you're doing, then you'll start at wherever you're at. If you're at 10, you go from 10, work your way up to 12. When 10 gets real easy and you're like, and I think we might have said this in one of the Fitme family calls, I can't remember, but like if you're doing an exercise and after you're done doing that exercise and you're like, you're not really breathing heavy, you're just kind of like, all right, I did that. And this is for if you are strength training. I can't necessarily speak to the Tori exercises, but if you are strength training and you do your sets and reps and you're like kind of breathing normal, you definitely didn't challenge your body enough. You want to be able to, when you are done those sets, you want to feel like that was hard. Like I got all my reps in. I might be able to get a couple more, but if I do 2 more, I'm going to have to drop the weight or my form's going to stink. Then you know you're at a good weight. You want it to feel challenging. You don't want to be so ungodly sore though the next day you can't raise your arm above your head. You want to be able to feel like you're working out. You want to feel like you're breathing a little bit heavy, got to catch your breath because what you did was challenging, but not so challenging that you can't, get your arm up, or you go like this and you're like shaking and you have to drop the weight. If that makes sense.
Yeah, the strength program that I'm working through, she talks a lot about progressive overload, which is exactly what Tabby's talking about, is increasing your weights when something gets heavy, because if you don't, then you're not gonna get stronger.
Mm-hmm. And
which is the
basically,
reason why I chose that program in the first place.
Yep, 100%. Because if you're not progressively overloading your exercises, you're not going to make progress like you want. Like I've been working on getting pull-ups because I couldn't do pull-ups before. And the first day I started, I could barely get one. Literally, I couldn't get one body weight pull-up. I used to be able to do them a few years back, but I just haven't practiced it. So then I started with the assisted pull-up machine where I put I forget how much weight I put on there, but I started just practicing the movement and to be able to get it. And then one day I just tried to do a pull-up and I could do one. I couldn't get 2. So then I would mix in trying to get 1 pull-up, mix in some assisted pull-ups because I wasn't quite strong enough yet. And now I'm able to get 2. So my goal this year is to be able to string together 5. So that's something I'm going to continue to work on. If I'm doing the assisted pull-up, taking some of that weight off. If I'm doing my actual pull-ups, challenging myself to get 2, trying to get that 3rd, and just keep working on it, because that's how you'll continue to progress in whatever movement. And if you want to be able to do a pull-up, if you want to be able to squat, you actually have to practice those movements to be able to get better at them. And you might practice with no weight and then start adding weights to it. Another way to continue to challenge your body.
You're doing really well with those pull-ups too. I've been watching you progress.
Thank you. I want to be able to get up to Christy's status. I don't know how many she can pull together, but she just makes it look so easy while she's doing it. I'm like, I got to work my way up to that.
It'll be a long time before I can do pull-ups.
Well, you already started to meet your goal of starting strength training this year. And, as long as you're continuing to challenge yourself with sets, with number of reps that you're doing, and challenging yourself with the dumbbells. Sorry, I'm like trying not to burp on here. I can feel one coming. Continuing to challenge yourself, I bet you'll get further than you think, quicker than you think. But the one thing is that everybody should be tracking what they're doing, because if I didn't track it and go back and look at it, I would probably pick the same things or the same weight to use. Like today, just to give you an example, like I hip thrust like 315 pounds, which is something that I was like working towards. When I started, I could only do, what is that on each side? 55. Like I could only do like 200 maybe. And I've been working on that since the end of last year. But I've been continuously hip thrusting and adding more weight in because I really, really, really wanted to get to that 315. Like I wanted to prove that I could do it. So just by tracking that, that's how I know. There were some weeks where I went back in weight. And with women, let me make sure I'm not running over. Okay. With women, like we have cycles, we have different hormonal cycles, and there's going to be certain times of the month that we just don't feel strong. We don't have the energy. That's usually like day 14 to day like 28, 29. So like the second half of your cycle, those 2 weeks probably before you get your cycle, you're probably going to feel tired. You're going to feel exhausted. There's no way in heck, which was like last week, I would have been able to do 315. I felt drained from having like getting ready to start my cycle. There's no way I was doing 315. And because we deal with, hormonal fluctuations that happen weekly, and on a cycle of 31 days, there's going to be some weeks where you just might not feel like you can push the intensity, and that's okay. But when you track it and you can kind of go back and look, and I write notes in there for myself. Like 2 weeks ago, I put in my little tracker. I was like, I feel so weak today. I'm really tired. Like this is all I have to give. And that's all I gave. But then this week turn around and I could increase that weight by, a good bit. So I was like surprised that it even happened. But I felt good today. I felt strong. This is like, the week after having your cycle, which is usually where you are going to feel your best. You're going to feel like you look your best. You're probably going to carry less water weight. You're going to feel really freaking strong. And that's how I'm feeling right now. So just a little side note, because that used to really bother the crap out of me when I'd go backwards and I'd be like, what the heck is going on here? But when you realize that it's like linked up with our hormonal fluctuations, it can totally change. I totally just went off a tangent. Didn't know I was going to talk about that tonight, but something to keep note of.
Yeah, and like in my walking, I do my 30-minute walking every morning, and I bumped up my intensity. So my Fitbit registers my walking as elliptical because my arms are swinging so fast. But I bumped it up to 3.0. So I do that, I slowly work my way up to that. So like at the 5-minute mark, I'm at 3.0. And then at the 25-minute mark, then I start going down. So that way I have a good warm up and a good down. But
Cool down.
I started just doing that just so I could get more steps, because I'm like, oh, if I go faster, I can get more steps. And then I don't have to walk as long. So that's what I've been doing.
No,
And
I
it
love
helps.
that.
You get a good sweat in.
That's a perfect way to make your walk more intense. That's funny. I did that last night because I was walking in the dark, and I saved all my steps to the end of the day, which was, I will not do that again. But I was like power walking in the dark because I'm like, I want to get done. I don't want to be in the dark anymore. Because I also was freaking myself out because I was the only one there. But yeah, just even like you said, increasing the incline, that's another way. Walking up a hill, if you're walking outside and you're normally walking on a flat surface, that's another good way to increase the intensity of your walk. I like it. Does anybody have any questions or have specific questions about maybe like what type of movement they're doing and how they can continue to challenge their body? And then I know a lot of you guys are also doing Tori exercises. So that was the one thing that we kind of didn't touch on. So I know Tori's, you know, I've not followed one of her programs, but I do know, you know, longer duration, the better, more frequently, the better. So if you are like timing how long you're doing Tori exercises, maybe you're doing each thing for like a minute, maybe we push to go to a minute and a half. If you're doing Tori exercises, you know, a certain number of reps, sets a day, increasing the number of repetitions. And you know, maybe the ladies who are more experienced with Tori exercises can kind of jump in how she's progressed there for anybody who's listening that might be new to those.
You can definitely, Tori has a way to progress each exercise she gives you to the next thing until you're pretty much doing strength training.
Perfect.
Is my understanding. So I have a whole list of Tori exercises that I still can do when I don't feel I can strength train. To basically kind of reset my body. And one of those that I did after Disney was an ankle recovery set because my ankle was killing me again. And come to find out, it was my quad muscle that was really, really tight. So once I stretched it a few times, then all the hip pain and all the pain that I was having went away. But it's just because I wasn't used to walking 10 miles a day. And who is, unless you go to Disney or you're an avid walker, which I am not.
Yeah, Disney's like 20,000 plus steps, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was not fun to try to recover from that, not knowing what was going on. And now I'm having shoulder issues and I'm not sure what's going on with it. I know the muscle on the outside of my shoulder sore, but I'm also getting some soreness in my shoulder. So we're trying to work on that before my year ends on February 3rd.
And it could be from
it could be.
Julie was traveling, literally, like if she told you guys her travel schedule, I don't think she was there. I think you traveled more than you actually were at your destination. So all that like sitting in the car and driving and this and that, like I know I'm always tight after traveling. Like my body always hurts.
It actually hurt before I even left. And I thought it was from me laying on it wrong. And Tori doesn't seem to think that's the case because I do have a movement when I move my arm front to back, repetition problem, like tendonitis or something in my shoulder or some kind of issue with my shoulder that they diagnosed a long time ago. But it started from laying on it. So we're just trying to figure out how to ease that pain. So when it comes back again in the future, because it will, because it comes and it goes, how I can alleviate it the fastest. And most of that is rest and not laying on it. And I lay on that side a lot. I'm even leaning on it now.
Joy.
Well, I'm kind of leaning on it. I'm not putting all my body weight on it, but you know, that's what it is. So, but yeah, you can progress the Tori exercises into other exercises, especially if you're starting at the very beginning. Like a lot of exercises I did were at the very beginning. And so we can add to those exercises and add to those exercises until basically you don't need them anymore because you're doing actual strength training.
All right.
Or you can use them as a reset.
Yes, I know Tori has definitely
done too
mentioned. Yep.
So.
All right. Does anybody have anything
you still need
else?
to send me a link.
Yes, I know. That's on my to-do list after this call.
I just wanted to make sure.
I didn't forget about you, I promise. All right, guys. Well, if no one has anything, I hope that you found this helpful. if you have any questions, you guys can always reach out to me directly if you wanted to talk a little bit more in depth about whatever you're doing. More than happy to help. And if not, I will see you guys back here next Monday.
See ya. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.